Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Buddhist Door's third film screening and dialogue hosted at Asia Society's wonderful Miller Theatre. A very warm welcome to our chief guest, the Honourable Professor Priscilla Leung, member of the Legislative Council of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, and founding president of the Hong Kong Association for External Friendship. I'd also wish to extend our deep gratitude to Mr. Tom Polin for so kindly hosting our dialogue, and also everybody else seated here tonight for spending this lovely evening with us. We hope that the film screening and dialogue will constitute an interesting and thought-provoking night, and I will shortly invite Professor Leung to come give us some opening remarks. Tonight we are screening the DAKINI Code, Lotus Born Master, and the Event Horizon. This is the third film in a series called Lotus Born Master, a succession of films directed by Laurence, who is here with us tonight and will be speaking with Mr. Polin later. There are many dimensions to Laurence's films, with the primary focus being the interface between contemporary science and ancient wisdom through the life and deeds of the Lotus Born Master Padmasambhava. We are taken on this journey through Laurence's creative vision of an idyllic world free from delusion and violence, embodied by Shambhala, and a constantly evolving approach to filmmaking in terms of his documentary focus and storytelling motifs. I would also like to note that Laurence began sharing the Lotus Born Master's message based on a profound and revelatory dream and not out of any other motive. So if you feel that his work is worth supporting, please do have a look at his courses and social media. And so the Lotus Born Master is also someone who belongs to the whole world. Part of his work has been to build bridges between nations, and that's what Laurence exactly has done through the Hong Kong Association for External Friendship. We are very proud to have Professor Leung, founding president, here with us tonight, and I'd like to just invite her to say a few words to open our event. Thank you very much.
Laurence, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my honor to attend this meaningful event organized by the Buddhist Door in collaboration with Asia Society, which is a showcase of the remarkable work of Laurence Brahm again. The DAKINI Code, Lotus Born Master, and the Event Horizon. Last year, on or about this time, I gave an opening speech, which has been my first time to deliver a speech to congratulate and support Laurence's movie, as well as on behalf of the Hong Kong Association for External Friendship. This is the second time, about 1 year. I don't know how much work Laurence has been doing in producing this kind of films, which is of such high level and go into the depth of the spirit and soul of different individuals. I watched his movie of the Ninth Dragon documentary, which is only the documentary, for about few times, which even as a Chinese growing up in Hong Kong, I had great discovery of his movie towards understanding Kung Fu philosophy, the Buddhists, as well as our Chinese civilization. Many of the philosophy and his observation have been neglected by many of us. So he has been successfully using his angle as a foreigner to look at our culture in a greater depth, which is what I really appreciate Laurence's work. I've known Laurence, I think, for about 35 years, since actually we just graduated from Chinese University. So he's just such a diversified person and loving Asian culture as a foreigner. So his foreign eye as a third person to look at Asian culture, in fact, can be deeper than people like us who was born here. So today, actually, his another piece of work, of course, is I see it as even more challenging to talk about Lotus Born Master and his story. And he has been telling this to me for years. When I visited him in Beijing, in his Sihe Yuan. I don't know how many of you have visited his home or his working place in Beijing, which is just wonderful. Well, you can never imagine a foreigner's home in Beijing carry so many characteristics of Asian and modern Chinese culture, and he has a lot of introduction of Buddhism and his search of Shangri-La, etc. So he's like sort of every time when he talks with me, he's trying to give me more insight about life. And today I'm sharing this observation of him as a friend for such a long time, that his works really deserves human world to watch. I think the world needs peace. The peace should go beyond culture, go beyond border of sovereignty, go beyond religion, go beyond languages and skin color. So our association is so happened when I share my mission to establish the Hong Kong Association for External Friendship for about 1.5 years now. Laurence immediately supported it and be our vice chairman, founding vice chairman. It's so important to have a foreigner to be our core member who can thoroughly understand the East and the West as a real bridge. And our mission has to go beyond differences to find commonness of differences on earth. Try to do something more to uphold and maintain peace for this challenging world relationship right now. Laurence has exemplified this mission, blending spirituality, science and art, and his artistic mind to actually challenge some of our traditional aptitude for some very traditional angle for religion, for culture, and for human behaviors. So I really have a very curious, I carry a very curious attitude to watch another new piece of work of Laurence. At least only within 1 year, I'm standing here to deliver an opening speech for his new piece of work. I hope every one of you, especially who shared his path to find the truth of life, I believe you will have even deeper feelings of his pursuit of knowledge and humankind. Finally, I wish this screening great success, and I hope every one of you can find something new or deep in your mind and in your heart. And I hope it inspires us to explore new horizons of thoughts and connection. And as the Chinese New Year approaches, I extend my heartfelt wishes for happiness, health, and prosperity for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. It's an honor to have you give us a few opening words, and your thoughtful reflections are very much treasured. And so without further ado, please enjoy the DAKINI Code.
This is the third film in your series, Laurence. The first it was In Search of Guru Rinpoche, and then his 8 manifestations. That was the first film, and then that led to the second one, which started focusing on the dakinis and the DAKINI Code. And now the third one is basically a continuation of a focus on Dakini and Dakini force and what it means and all that. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your own thinking on the evolution, from number 1 to number 2 to number 3, what you were trying to do in each case that led from 1 to 2 to 3, and the evolution, why this progression, and what you were actually trying to do in each one of these, and how they're interconnected.
Thanks, Tom. The movie began and ended with the words, "When in doubt, follow the wind." And that was really what we were doing. The first film began with a dream. Guru Padmasambhava, the Lotus Born Master, appeared and said, "My 8 manifestations are 8 quantum energy fields. Now go tell the world." And at that point, we began a whole process of trying to, first of all, understand the 8 manifestations, their historical sequence, the practices that they represented, and then to understand the quantum physics or the science of those practices for body-mind transformation, and also for the transformation of the frequencies, energies around us, or the greater algorithms. And I'll just take a moment to especially thank, I hope they can stand up because they do deserve a big round of applause. Members of the team who have advised on each step of the way. And Johnson Lee actually translated all the subtitles of all the movies we've done and all the books that we've done. And Johnson, are you there? Please, here. Yeah, all right, let's give him a big hand, yes. Johnson is like, what, you have another movie? We have to translate that, another book? By the way, Johnson, we've got 4 movies on stack right now that are in different stages of either preparation, filming, or editing.
So the process is still ongoing.
The process is ongoing. And then the other person I really wish to acknowledge in the audience is Dr. Jean Lim, who has been such a resource on understanding not only quantum physics, but now particularly the evolution of consciousness with AI. She's one of the most significant leaders in the AI industry right now. She was I guess, can I call you the mother of Sophia, right? The great robot that said she was going to wipe out humans, right? Okay. Thank you, Jean. And Jean's also been working on a lot of the ideas behind the science fiction movies we're doing now, which is a continuing of the evolution of the process. So real quick, the process goes on, 8 manifestations. We find out that these are 8 different ways of connecting with oneself, with the universe. There is a science to it. We can say it's the science of the unobservable, so we could call it quantum physics. And then we moved on, and Bhutan, the royal family came to me and said, well, suddenly you've given us a huge opening here, because the younger people are on their iPads and iPhones and saying, what is this? Oh, you old people are praying to deities and stuff. Look, we're high tech. And suddenly you flipped it and say that actually, Guru Rinpoche is the father of quantum physics. Without having the Lotus Born Master, we don't have our technologies. So would you like to make the next movie in Bhutan? And then what came up was the question of, is many of his teachings have been revealed as treasure revelations. Many of those revelations are revealed in the Bayul, or the sacred sites, which are really very unique energy fields, and many of these are in Bhutan. And the people who reveal them are called Turtans, or treasure revealers. But the treasure revealers cannot unlock the codes to these teachings without a Dakini, whether it's in the form of a person or in the form of a vision or a dream. But they have to have that feminine field or the magnetic field to be able to electrify the source. And so after making the movie Return of Lotus Born Master, decrypting the Dakini code, people start asking, what's a Dakini? And so we went on and made this film, The Dakini Code, Lotus Born Master, and the Event Horizon, taking the question a step further. Well, could he also be the father of astrophysics?
So Dakini really, according to the last two films, basically, especially this one, means basically the feminine principle, the female as opposed to the male, or rather in harmony with the male. Now, for someone with the Chinese cultural background, how is Dakini different, or different from, or the same as the concept of yin, as in yin yang? Are they interchangeable, or are there subtle or not so subtle differences?
Yin yang in Chinese, and if we speak in Tibetan, it's yabyam. So actually, it's the same concept. So when you see the Kontozampo, the classic, it looks like Shakyamuni type Buddha embracing a female deity. It's actually intended to be the yabyam, the yin and the yang together, not as two but as one, which I think is fully the concept in the Chinese tradition as well. And so, but one of the ways I also like to think of the not negative and positive, but magnetic and electronic. So I like to think of it, the electromagnetic relationship. Photons and neutrons are spinning and they need to have each other to exist. And if we are thinking back in the Tibetan language, Dakini is called a kandro. So it literally translates, ka is space and dro is to walk. So they're moving through space. Or I like to think, if we want to think on a broader sense, that the sun might be considered a electro field, a nuclear electro field, but the ka, the space, is space itself. It's timelessness, it's spacelessness that has in its emptiness all possibilities. And if I was going to define a Dakini, I would do it that way.
So actually, in this film, one I think very personal, a very important aspect was the potential meeting place of traditional religion or metaphysics with modern science. And as a couple of people towards the end were suggesting, there's the beginnings of a dialogue, but there are certain points in which it's stuck and there's no common language yet, which is why there's still people who are attached to science and think of themselves as scientific thinkers, who still cannot accept religion or metaphysical explanations for phenomena that science cannot either prove or verify or understand even. Do you see this dialogue achieving some kind of breakthrough that might allow for that in the future, or what are your thoughts?
I think society is moving toward that breakthrough. So we talk about theoretical physics, which is in fact theory, often based on assumptions. And it was mentioned here 70, 80 years ago when Einstein, Bohr, everyone was debating. These were scholarly communities that were coming to consensuses or agreement and using numbers as a language, not to prove something, but to explain it. So they were creating or using a numerical method to create a code to explain it. And so when we look at a tanka, or we look at a mural, or we look at the ritual items, these are encoded. They're used for visualization. They're used for ritual. And it's not about, you have to have a language written. You look at it and you understand. If you've been indoctrinated to the codes, you understand it right away. And so I think that even in our first film, Searching for the Lotus Born Master, 8 Manifestations of Quantum Energy, the opening quote in black and white that we used is not a lama, it's not Guru Padmasambhava, it's not any figure of Buddhism, it's Nikola Tesla. And that statement is, the day that science begins to research or understand the unobservable is the day it will make a great, I think the words he used, it will progress more than any of the centuries before. And because we're always stuck on the observable and our five senses, what we smell, we see, we touch, we taste, we hear, are limited. And there's so many frequencies, so many things that are being discovered that are beyond our observable senses, and therefore are beyond or outside of the constricted construct of empirical science, which must confirm something that has to be observed over a period of consistent time. So I think it's time for this breakthrough. I think it's going to benefit all humanity.
Right now, from something that's a lot of the stuff was we've talked about in the film also is pretty abstract, and now just on a very practical, pragmatic level, coming down to earth, literally. If I'm someone who's totally new to this, whether religion or science, and I see the films, and I'm very inspired and excited, actually, about how I want to start on this process of trying to elevate my awareness and to be able one day to tap into these higher levels of knowledge and consciousness and awareness. And I'm inspired by what's in the films. Now, how do I, on a practical level, begin to do all of this? What would you, if you were to prescribe a sort of ABC, kindergarten kind of entry level, what must I do? What should I do?
I think, was it Shakyamuni Buddha said there's 84,000 entry points into the nirvana space. And so I don't disclude anything. I don't disclude anything. Everybody has their own taste, their own time, their own way of an entry point. But certainly there's many schools of Tibetan Buddhism. I know here in, and Chan Buddhism as well. These are all entry points. There's many schools here in Hong Kong. There's many great masters in Hong Kong. I know that there's two Bhutanese lamas here who are also teaching. There's many entry points. And to get a master, to get somebody to bring you on the mind protocols. And so I don't even want to talk about religion. I want to say these are mind training protocols to get you out of your self, or out of our daily kind of, samsara, our daily, routines, mental routines. The most important thing is the mental routine, and get you into really understanding our place in the universe and ourself. And for some people, there are yoga classes. There are other. I was actually yesterday at. There's a gentleman named Nima who's teaching right in Lang Kwai Fang Wing Chun, but he's not teaching Wing Chun as combat Wing Chun. He's teaching it as what it was originally, because it came from Southern Shaolin, and it was actually a process of breathing, training, mind, concentration. And, you walk in there and you've got students all in a very kind of peaceful state. Now, as I say, if you can start your day off and you can meditate, or you can just have some quiet and get away from the noise of, all the chatter out there, and get away from the noise of our own mind, then it's already a good start for what will be a great day, and you reset your own algorithm. So.
Okay. Now let's turn the floor over to the audience here, and if anyone would like to make any comment or have any questions about what you've just seen or heard, please go ahead. Any comments or questions? And please.
You mentioned that you met the Dakinis. How did you know that you had met?
So in the opening of the film, what we're doing is, and I actually use the same actress for all the different types of people. And the message here is that the Dakini energy can manifest in anybody. It's not necessarily that you're meeting a goddess, that every single one of us here today and anyone out there anywhere is born with Buddha nature. You're born with this. You're born with a primordial sense of awareness. And we have to kind of scrub away all of the distractions to get to that. So the idea of the opening was that was, of course, filmed as acted, is to get you into the notion that anyone anywhere might turn out to be that Dakini or that wisdom holder who maybe with a word or two changes the direction of your whole life. And it's has been in the case where I have had, female friends who have suddenly come up with this enlightened words that just suddenly trigger something, and we go in a direction because they may be suddenly conscious of something. And it doesn't have to be a female either. And this happens, I think, probably many people in this room have experienced that, where suddenly that consciousness from the ether is suddenly given to you. And it might be a person, and it might not be a person. It might be an event. It might be a thing. I'll give you a very specific example of a non-person event. About a year, maybe 2 years ago, I guess it was, we were in north of Yushu, south of Nanqing, in Qinghai province. And there is a couple of caves there of Guru Padmasambhava that they're both unreachable. They say there's bears up there and stuff. But at any rate, below is a nunnery. And we went there. We began to film. We were talking to the nuns to get the story. And suddenly, as soon as we started to film, the thunder, you could hear thunder. Lightning was all around us. The whole place lit up. And then you had hail. You had snow. First you had snow. Then you had hail. Then you had ice, and then you had pouring rain. And we were soaked. We got back to the jeeps. And then within minutes you had sunlight and, everything cleared. And I stood there. I said, this is telling us something. I mean, we've been blessed by the Guru or, what. And what it was we later found out that this was the location, or said to be the location, where the Guru himself, Guru Padmasambhava, had actually called the 5 protectress Dakinis, representing wind, fire, water, earth, and space. And he had them swear to be the protectors of his teaching, and especially the teachings that were hidden there, later revealed in that place, Barche Lamso and Samba Lundrup. And suddenly, when we found this out, it opened up a whole new idea. So one of the films that we're working on right now, which is it triggered an inspiration. And so we started to look at Samba Lundrup, which is in the film, we talk about Dorje Drolo. His last manifestation rides on the tigress and stores the teaching, tames the demons, but appears in 13 different caves simultaneously. So there's actually 13 taksang, or tiger's nests, across the Himalayas. We've identified now when this film was made, we identified 6. We're about 8 now, and we're planning a film to go to each of these. But then, each of these caves, the 13, why 13 in Samba Lundrup, he reemerges as 13 emanations subjugating 13 crises, which are what's happening right now in the world. You have pestilence, you have destruction of environment, you have the causes of natural disasters because of human destruction of environment, you have, fires, you have war, you have discrimination between economic classes. All this is described. There's 13, and he reemerges to, subjugate the 13. Well, that's now become the subject of a science fiction movie we're working on right now called Lotus Born Master, Punksters and Magicians, in which we will go through 13 kind of, portals and look at the future and look at AI and look at what's happening around the world. And so we're doing science fiction movies on his prophecies, but that whole inspiration came from the 5 protectors Dakinis who covered us with wind, fire, water, and earth. That's, I think, the manifestation of the Dakini right there. Yeah.
So Dakini is not meant to be taken as something literal, and whether it's whether a person or an event, it's more like an energy that can manifest and influence us in some way that we don't anticipate.
So yogis that reach an enlightened state become masters. The word Rinpoche literally means, a jewel, because they're the teachers, they're the masters. And a yogin, or a female practitioner, yogi, who achieves the enlightenment level will be called a khandro, or a dakini, because they've achieved the state of emptiness in the physical body or the physical manifestation of a human being.
Okay, another question or another comment, please? Yes.
I've been set on a path to practice Dorje Droli for my own Rinpoche, so I'm just fascinated with the fact that you actually been in one of those caves, and I don't know, because on the movie, the film flashed by really fast, but I saw there's an image of you feeling the cave. Could you, in any way, express or describe what it felt like, the energy? Do they all feel different?
So caves have different, of course, they have different energies. Many of the caves that Guru Padmasambhava went to stay in, practice in, are crystal. So one of the caves we discovered, we went to, and I'll just divert from Dorje Drolo, Nicholas Roerich, the explorer in the 1920s who was looking for Shambhala, was always writing about an underground passage, a cave that led to Shambhala. And he never got there, but we found the cave. We found pretty much what he was looking for. And it's not that the cave leads you to Shambhala, but the region has the Shambhala teachings because it's a concentration of Janampa in that region, and that's the smaller sect of Tibetan Buddhism that has the Shambhala, or should we say the keepers of the Shambhala lineage traditions. Jonang, Jonang, Okay, so the Janampa are the keepers of the Shambhala tradition. So all the other sects, whether it's Gamagaji or Galupa, who have Kalachakra teachings, have that derived from the Janampa. Because this is the one sect of Tibetan Buddhism which is not derived from Guru Padmasambhava himself, but it's actually a direct transmission from Shakyamuni Buddha. And it has, of course, the whole Shambhala is another subject, which is now actually the films we're working on now is Lotus Born Master, Shambhala Multiverse. But the caves that particular cave is all crystal. So it's one of the most dangerous caves I've done, and you just literally slide through it, and there's points where there's just sheer drops down. We don't know what's down there. But you have an energy field, because crystal is a substance which radiates or has a very high frequency. So obviously these are high frequency places. Other bayuls, or sacred landscapes, where the teachings are hidden or where the guru practiced with his consorts, we've been to quite a few. They tend to have a similar topography and energies that are very unique because of the topography. There's often a sharp ravine. You have, again, a lot of crystalline rock. You have very rapid water. And most often you have waterfalls or extremely sudden water immersions, which create an ionic field. So you just feel that field immediately. And so I'm not talking spiritually, but scientifically, you're in that space. And we know that water contains information, as does crystal. The Chinese satellite system, which is unhackable by the Americans, is unhackable because they're using crystal chips. And so, we know that there's information there. And so these are powerful fields, and that's why yogis and masters go to them, because they're able to tap into a frequency very quickly that you might not be able to tap into in another environment or space. You could say they're portals.
Another question or comment from? Yes.
Hi. So in Buddhism, we actually don't quite promote duality, right? So how is the perspective of transforming negative energy to positive energy?
There's no negative, there's no positive. That's basically
mentioned
it.
in the
Once you have the
film.
realization there's no negative, positive, there's no good, there's no bad, there's it, there's this, then there is no negative, there is no positive, because you're outside of the state of duality.
Okay, I'm afraid we have to end it here as the time is up. Thank you all for your participation and your attention.
I'd like to thank Tom Polin of Buddhist Doors, director. I'd like to thank Raymond Lam, who is editor at Buddhist Doors magazine. If you're not reading that magazine, you should kind of tap into it. And especially thank Asia Society for hosting us here. And it's a pleasure to work with Liao Mei Fun as part of the Hong Kong Association for External Relations, because we do want to have Hong Kong as a window to the world on many things, because we have such a rich not only Chinese culture in Hong Kong, but a rich multi-ethnic culture among the communities of Indian, Pakistan, Nepalese, Sri Lanka, and Filipino. We actually have a very rich community here of ideas, and we hope to spread those to the rest of the world, which needs some, kind of maybe a fresh reset these days. So thank you, and most of all, thank each and every one of you for making the time to join us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurence. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for your very thoughtful dialogue. And thank you most of all to all of you for joining us for this most recent and for now our final film screening at Asia Society. And we hope to see you very soon at other events with Buddhist Door.